Welcome to another episode of the Kat Mak Talk Show. And I've got Jelena Ostrovska. We have been mates online for, I don't know, I reckon to my English, how bad am I? I would say we've been mates, Aussie slang for friends. I'm Kat Mak, and we've been mates for, I think, 8 years. I've been watching your journey from the little young girl that you were, and you're going to share your story in a second because I want to know the background stuff because that's what people relate to. And we're all sticky beats, like, let's be real. If you're not a sticky beat, you're lying. You're lying to my face. You're lying to Jelena's. So, Jelena, you're a podcast host of the CEO Declassified. You're an inspiration for what you do for women in business because you chop, change, you use current trends. You help me get my ish done to make money, build my brand in a way that's no BS. Am I wrong?
You're absolutely not wrong. You're completely correct.
Absolutely right. So in a nutshell, you're a business strategist that helps me build my brand and helps me get out of my own way. Now, Jelena, I'm going to turn the mic over to you. I'd like to know a little bit about your backstory, and your journey from the last 8 years.
Okay, so long story short or long story long, we're going to try to keep it as short as possible. So I started in business. In network marketing was my very first business exposure online, thanks to my parents who told me, why are you going to go to college and get yourself into debt? You have this business, try to figure it out online. There should be education. And I was still in high school and I was like, okay, I have not made any money in the first 2 years because of school. I didn't know what I was doing. I was working with Russians in the beginning and I just didn't really connect with them, even though I am Russian, but I don't do anything in business in Russian. It's just very complicated. The words are different. The vocabulary is just not the same. Like, don't ask me to talk about business in Russian. I rather talk in freaking Chinese about business. So
That woman, she knows her niche. Like, why wouldn't you? She works out
exactly.
what works and what doesn't, right?
So so I started searching online after I graduated high school. I was like, okay, let me see if there's something online that I can learn. And I found an online education platform that was essentially called Harvard for Network Marketers. And considering that I was a straight A student at school, I probably could have gotten into a really good school after high school, which I didn't go into. I didn't go to college. I skipped the whole traditional journey of getting a job and doing all of those things. And I went into a non-traditional way and joined an education platform where I started learning all the things about marketing, which was completely brand new because keep in mind, when I joined network marketing, I had no idea how to build a business. I had no brand. I had no audience. I had this thick Russian accent that nobody understood the way I
So
was speaking.
true. Yeah.
So yeah, if there's anybody who built everything from absolute zero, that's me. I had no connections on the internet whatsoever. So I had to essentially build everything from scratch. And here I am, 10 years later.
So question for you. Do you regret, the $1 million question? You just said some key words. You said, I didn't do traditional learning. I didn't get a job. I didn't go to university, yet I could have. Any regrets? Because this is to no disrespect for anyone that wants to go down the traditional path, because I am a product of network marketing, traditional path. I went to university, got an economics degree, got married to we were Ken and Barbie. I did all that stuff. And here I am with you. So any regrets? And let's just start with that question.
Thought about it for all the last years. I wouldn't say that I have any regrets because I got to see the world. Like I got to travel to 30 countries in the last, several years. And there's no way I'd be able to do all of that if I were to go to college, let alone get into debt and do the traditional route. And yeah, my life would have been very different. I wouldn't have been on this podcast with you right now and have this incredible conversation. So did I miss out on anything in college? Maybe I missed out on connections or the college experience that everybody talks about. But I'm like, in my mind, the way I've always viewed college, and it's kind of a really messed up way. I'm like, everybody just goes there to get messed up, like do that and sleep around. And I'm like, I was never that person. I'm like, that never interested me. So the whole college experience, I'm like, I'm not the person to get drunk or do any of that weird shit. So I'm like, I traveled instead. I traveled to America for the first time when I literally turned 20, and I went to the States and spent a couple of days with the network marketing leadership team, like with the company CEO of all people. So I'm like, I started pretty well. So yeah, no regrets.
No regrets. And, let me tell you, my university experience was not the alpha, beta, gamma, and all that kind of stuff that you hear. I was bored. I would go to uni, no joke. I would go to uni and leave. Mum and dad, you're now angels, but I would go to university and then just get in my car and go work because I worked in a fashion chain. I was bored. I'm like, this is so boring. I remember my lecturer, my accounting lecturer, because I did an economics and human resources major in marketing, which means nothing. All I learnt was supply and demand and how the world works economically. Let's be real. And and the psychology of buying. That's what I learned in 3 years. Great, yeah. Uh, and how much debt later. And he said, if you're not planning on being an accountant, you may as well walk up and walk away now. And I went, okay, see ya. I'm out of here. So for people and women out there that are thinking, should I, should not? We are not saying that you should not do traditional businesses. We are not saying that you should not go to traditional education platforms. All we're saying is that, you know what? Just like Jelena, there are other avenues. You can have your cake and eat it too. I'm going to say this again. You can have your cake and eat it too. However, when you grab the spoon or the knife and the fork, depending what cake you have, you got to eat it slowly. Because if you eat it too fast, you're going to get indigestion. You're going to think, what the heck am I doing? I'm going to have to go back and bake the cake all over again. And you will, because the first cake you're going to bake is going to be burnt. And mind you, I don't even know how to bake. And I burn packet cakes, and I've burnt a shitload of them. So
I love that analogy.
I'm going to get into the identity gap in a sec because I love what you are teaching right now. And the identity gap in your business, the trajectory that you are now moving forward is, I believe, exactly what people are missing in their business. But before we get into that, what are some personal branding strategies that you can share with the viewers out there that you have done and that you can share right now and go, okay, well, she's done this. I can do this, that. And you just said a couple of keywords before. I didn't have millions of people following me. I didn't have visibility. I didn't know jack what I was doing. Jack Australian means I know nothing. So if you can share one or two strategies, that would be amazing.
So, there's so many strategies. I feel like, again, in the beginning, when I joined the online space and Facebook and everything, and I was discovering all these new leaders, I first found the people who were doing what I wanted to do and the people who I could relate to. And I was studying them like a maniac because I was 19 years old when I joined this education platform. And yeah, like I didn't have the resources or a lot of money to invest into all these programs and coaching programs and masterminds and whatever. And I was like, okay, what can I do? I basically followed their YouTube channels. I followed what they were doing. I joined their email list. I joined their funnels and I studied everything. I would read their sales pages. I would read their websites. I would read their emails and I just became a really good student, right? And I started observing the patterns of what was happening. And then, of course, I was learning also personal branding. I was learning how to create content. So I would say the two things that really made a difference is one, studying the leaders who were making it happen. And then two, I started creating content pretty early on Instagram originally, and then on Facebook. And then I branched out into YouTube because the number one way, in my opinion, to build a personal brand is to put yourself out there. Because if you're not posting content, nobody can see you. And I've always said this, if there's one thing that I've done consistently for years, it's been showing up consistently with my content, with my message, and especially with video.
Yes, you have been You have always been in my face. And I'm like, is it because I follow you? Yes. That's because I follow you and because you are visible. And I think I did a post today. If we're not visible, we are going to be the world's best kept secret. And it really is that cliche and simple. If you go into a shopping center, my background is retail operations. My job was to build brands globally. That's what I did for 35 years, right? So if I go into a shopping center looking for the Kat Mak store and it's not there, or she's got her doors closed, and every time she goes to find the Kat Mak store or the Jelena store and the doors are closed, guess what? I'm going next door. It's that simple. I love that you said, do what you can do. Let that resonate. For those that are starting off, that is such a valid point. I'm going to say it again. Do what you can do. Maybe you should use that for a tagline. I'm like, damn, you just said gold just there. Study hard, study where you want to be, study the leaders that have the thing that you want, the thing that resonates with you. However, do what you can do. Because as women, we're wired like this. Last night at band camp. And we're like, no, do what you can do in the realms of your capabilities based on your genius zone. So I want to ask you, how do you create a multi-platform content strategy without the burnout, even though I've kind of mentioned what you mentioned, because it kind of ties in? Because I know we can burn out really, really quickly.
Yeah, so my philosophy has always been for years, actually, since I started a blog years ago, 2015, I started my website. And then simply because everybody told me, they're like, look at all these leaders, they all have a website. And I'm like, okay, fine, let me build the website. So I did all of that. Then they said, oh, you need to be blogging and you need to be putting out content. Keep in mind, the year is 2015, 2016. There's no AI, there's no ChatGPT that makes your life easier and, makes people dumber as well. So we were doing everything with hands and with the brain. So I started all of that and then I started posting articles. I'm like, okay, I'm gonna keep blogging. And then I slowly started adding YouTube as well. And I was like, okay, so I'm creating this long form content and it's a long article plus a video. I can take pieces out of it and put it on my social media because social media doesn't require you to, you can write super long articles on your Facebook. You can write super long carousels on Instagram right now. But again, keep in mind, the platforms are very different. On Instagram, there was no video. Like literally the end of 2015. No, the end of 2015, there was 15 seconds square video. That's all.
Oh my God,
And
do you
I had
remember that? Wow.
and I had a hard time squeezing in all of my thoughts into a 15-second video. It was actually a really great training because now we have freaking reels. But yeah, so I have always used long form content that I publish weekly and I take the pieces out of it and I create short form videos. I create quotables. I take ideas and I write longer form, pieces of content like written in a written format. And then there's this point in time when you have been in business for a while and you're like, I feel like I've talked about everything and I've said everything I wanted to say. I don't know what to create content about. When you're already on multiple different platforms, not every single person has seen what you have to say. That's number one. So that's the time when you have to dig into your content bank. So I teach like this concept of building like a content bank of ideas, and you dig through them and you take the idea that you published, let's say in 2022, but you give it a new life. Because please, for everybody who's listening, do not take your content word for word from 2020 and repost it, because chances are you mentioned the pandemic or whatever BS was happening back then. It's irrelevant. So you have to be very careful about how you're repurposing content. But yeah, so even right now, like the way my content strategy looks like is I have my weekly podcast, I have my YouTube channel, and I let that content dictate kind of the rest of my strategy. So I have 29 podcast episodes published, so I can literally go in there, look into the transcript, run that transcript to ChatGPT. Hey, find ideas. And then I take the idea and I write a piece of content.
I was just going to ask you about Let's Talk AI, because that's a really clever way of doing it. And it's actually your own words as opposed to just going to AI going, can you please? And I'm like, you can clearly see what's AI. A 1 minute thought on AI, and then I want to talk about the identity gap, because I know this is your key core baby at the moment. And I want to talk about that because I just want to talk about that. So let's talk AI for a second. Personal, I do not think that we're going to be walking, talking AI machines. People will always be needed. Maybe that's my sales background. Maybe that's the touch feel person that I've always been. But if you're going to close a sale, you sniff a spammer from a mile away. AI is amazing, but use it as a tool. Because otherwise, I think you become a tool.
100%.
Yeah.
And I feel like in the world of AI, people need human connection, unlike anything. Like podcasts like this, there's no way AI is going to replace a conversation like this, or the emotions or the reflections that we're sharing, or the perspective, because that's really what AI lacks. It lacks the emotions. I think some of the AI have emotions right now, but it's still like you
still
can
not
tell
real.
it's still not real.
I will not marry my AI.
And like for me personally, like I think you also have like a coaching business. So for us, it's a people business. It's always going to be
Yeah.
a relationship business. I don't care what you do. I still jump on sales calls. I had a sales call last week when I had no voice. Like
Yeah.
AI still wouldn't really replace me. Like I still had to be present there and to show up for my clients, right? I still had to
Yes.
show up there. So, and I feel like human connection is so needed in things like communities, things like podcasts, guest appearances, conversations, YouTube videos, even going live is kind of like back, like in because people want to see that you're a real freaking human being and not some
Yeah, I know.
robot hiding behind a fake face. Like I can't emotions or anything, right? And you've seen those weird videos with AI avatars when they like speak like this and then their hands moving at a really weird way. I'm like, it's so strange.
Doesn't work. So let's talk identity gap. Talk to me about that. What's all that
Yeah, so
about?
I did a masterclass on that a couple of weeks ago. When I look back at my business in the last 10 years, there's one quote that I've kind of carried with myself. Wherever you go, there you are. And you always have to evolve as a person, as a human, as a brand. Because, yes, you can have quote unquote a faceless brand. You can have multiple different businesses, but you're always there with them. So your business is only going to grow to the extent of how you grow. When sometimes people say like, oh, like, you don't have to change and this and that. And I'm like, oh, if I didn't change, if I still remained the same person I was in 2014, I would not be able to speak with you today. So, and the identity work is something that's every single business leader does, whether they know it or not. I think identity work became kind of not necessarily a buzzword, buzz phrase, but people started recognizing it for what it is, like personal branding, identity work. You working on your qualities, your skill sets, what you quote unquote bring to the table. So yeah.
It's a really good model, and it's something that I think can be brought into every business. And I think everyone should do that every quarter in their business when they're doing a 3-monthly overview or yearly. No, I think it should be done quarterly, personally. So I love that you are teaching the identity gap and you're talking about change. My favorite quote is one of my regional managers when I was 19. He said to me, the only thing that ever stays the same is change. So I taught that to every single team, and I still think about it. It's exactly what you said. Because I remember you doing a post, it might have been a couple of months ago, I don't remember, but you talked about the identity gap, and you actually posted a photo of you in, I think, 2014 or 15, whenever it was, and you today. And you're like, man, this was me and this is me. So if I didn't change or moved, what the heck?
Yeah, and it's such a good reflection to do, because sometimes you look at your business, because we're too close to our business, right? Like that's why coaches always need coaches, because they see us in a very different light than we see ourselves. And it's good to look through your phone gallery sometimes and see how far you've actually come, because it's better to compare yourself today to who you were, 5, 10 years ago, even a year ago. Like I even looked at some of my photos from 2, 3 years ago, like how I used to show up to events, and like I told my friend, I'm like, why was I being dressed like a bimbo in jeans and sneakers? Like last year I went all out in like dresses and skirts and like actually put some effort into, my appearance. Not that I like didn't put effort before, but it's like
Yep.
you make yeah, it's like a personal thing. So, yeah, so like I love looking at like even like other business leaders who I've seen, like especially when you look at somebody for like years and you've known somebody for like 5, 7, 10 years. It's like just good to look back and see how you've changed.
Yeah, people always say, well, some coaches are like, why don't you wear dresses? Because I love pants. And they're like, why don't you ever wear dresses? So literally the last 2 years, I'm like, actually, I should. So I have been. And it actually feels good being in a feminine kind of thing because it's I'm not used to it. I do it going out, but I don't do it at events. I'm like,
Yeah.
maybe that's probably another episode in itself. So in closing, I will ask you this question. If you were to look at your 19-year-old self, what would you say to her if you were to look at her in the mirror?
I think I would say to her that one, all the hard work is gonna pay off is one, and two, you'll really make yourself proud.
And continue to make yourself proud, even when you fall on your face and you've got no voice.
Exactly.
So, Jelena, thank you so much for joining me. You are an inspiration and a woman that is a product of a product. So please go out, follow her jam, follow her thing, her wisdom. And I'm just going to say it. You're really young and you're so worldly. Jelena, thank you so much for joining me. I really appreciate you. Can't wait to get on your podcast, the CEO Declassified, unfiltered and raw, up close and personal. Bye for now.
Thank you.